Hey everyone, welcome to our sister podcast. We are so excited to be here with you guys today. We're gonna go ahead and start with some introductions. So my name is Fatwa, this is Fatma, and this is Rayan, and we're gonna tell you a little bit about ourselves. So I just recently graduated from college. I love to read. My favorite holiday is Christmas. I love to cook, and I love to exercise and play sports and have fun with friends and family, of course.
Nice. And like she said, my name is Fatma, and I am the older one in this bunch. And I am a therapist, and I also like to read, but more so fantasy. She's the one that reads like the good stuff, like the educational things. But
He also likes to read about
me and
dragons.
fantasy, yeah, I do.
It's all about dragons.
Listen, it could be any mythical creature, and I'm here for it. I love science fiction. Barnes and Noble and I are friends. That's where I like to go and hang out. I do like art and movies and hang out with friends as well.
Awesome. Okay, well, my name is Rayan. I'm the youngest. I'm definitely really creative too, so I like to read and write and paint and all those things. Yeah, I'm more of a romance and contemporary reader than like dragons and self-help. But that's just me.
They like to make fun of me. They think all I read about is dragons. The one dragon
Okay.
book I read
This
is
is
Fourth
not the
Wing.
time.
Crazy. What did you just say the other day about your new favorite
Oh
genre?
my gosh, what the heck?
What's my new favorite genre?
You don't remember? You came back home from Barnes and Noble.
What did she say?
Middle grade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Why does that have anything to do with dragons?
It's just super fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah, there are.
That is all you read. That's my point.
Oh, well,
Okay.
okay.
So, anywho,
We're gonna start off, I guess, enter into some questions, or I guess a little game to kind of let you know us a little more.
And the first question is, why are we doing this podcast? And then we can jump into our game.
Oh, yes, okay, let's do that. So the reason why we're doing this podcast is because
Confidence, Rio. Confidence.
okay, I have confidence. The reason why we're doing this podcast is because we kind of felt like there wasn't a lot of Sudanese representation out there, and obviously we're Sudanese, South Sudanese, so we kind of wanted to get out there and share our perspective. Yeah, what about you guys?
it's so cool. I think that podcast and vlogging and influencing has become such a bigger deal and it's had such a bigger presence on social media, and I think it's connected us all in a really super cool way. I'm really grateful for technology for that reason. Like, we know what's going on the other side of the world, and we know what people are doing in their day to day, and it's really cool. I feel like in some ways it helps us feel less alone. We can connect to people, and so we really wanted to get on this platform so that we can build that kind of a community and share parts of ourselves with the world in hopes of other people sharing their parts of their world with us as well. And again, just growing a bigger community.
Yeah, and we talk all the time about so many different things, and we always go deep, and we always have a fun time. So it's nice to just kind of capture on video and share with you guys, and like she said, build that community and see what you guys have to add to our conversations and see what happens from this. I think it'll be really cool. Either way, we're benefiting because we're continuing our, connection as sisters and having fun. So hope you guys can join us.
We're so excited.
So, now we're going to start with our questions. It's who's most likely to. Okay, I'll just start with the first one. So, who is most likely to laugh at the worst possible moment?
Ding, 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 ding.
I have like the giggles, and it's what's the word?
Inappropriate. Untimely.
It is okay. That's not what I was looking for. It's
Uncontrollable.
no.
Okay. I actually thought I was helping with
It's
that one.
detrimental. I can't get rid of it. No medicine will help. I just laugh at the worst possible moments, and I really try not to.
You should create a support group of people who laugh at inappropriate times.
I literally do. Okay. Anyway,
That was easy.
who is most likely to win an argument with mom and dad?
Mom and dad?
Yeah, it's kind of hard, like mom or dad. Boy.
Really? You think it's you?
Oh, I eat. I don't let them get the last word.
No, I'm never seen you have an argument with mom and dad. It's always me. I'm always like the one that's arguing.
Oh, that's not true, baby girl. I've been arguing with mom left and right.
Really?
Yes. You're just not there for it.
Interesting. I'd love to see.
I think I win.
Okay, maybe you're good with mom.
Oh.
But like with dad, it's Rayan.
I'll chew up dad.
Like she will be direct with dad, and she will convince him to do something her way. I never argue with either. I don't know if
I did. I definitely got my way with dad. Okay. I don't know.
In high school, maybe.
Also, our mom is like she will chew you up.
Spit you out.
Literally.
No mercy.
It's like, I don't think it's really easy. Anyway. Okay, next question is, who's more likely to burn food?
Ding, 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 ding. This girl be burning ramen noodles.
Every single
you would burn water.
Something in the, she literally burned water. Like every time she puts something in the oven,
that's not true.
She forgets.
Hey.
Like, every time she cooks, it's like, there's a gas.
No.
I've seen that.
Oh, literally, I need to reenact. We'll be sitting there chilling, right? And Nelson's like, I see potatoes.
Literally.
Hold on.
Income.
There's a difference between forgetting that I have food on the stove or in the microwave or whatever or in the oven versus burning things. I don't burn things. I just say, oh, I forgot. Let me go check on it. And it's usually not burnt.
You're right. But sometimes it is burnt. Who really burns food is you. I don't know why to not talk your teeth. Who burns food?
Okay, wait.
Listen. We'll put potatoes, fry them on the thing, and leave them on one side until it's char black, and the other side is raw. That is sick.
That's how I like them.
And she'll eat it like she likes it, knowing dang well she doesn't.
Next question.
Okay. Who is more likely to overshare with a stranger?
You.
That is not true.
It's definitely me.
Really?
Yeah. I was telling things to yesterday that I never said before.
All right.
Definitely me. Okay.
I feel like I'm the type of person who will turn the question back on you, and I will dig into your life, okay?
Crazy.
But, Rayan, you can get her to open up easily.
Yeah.
We were talking to a friend last night, Jessica, and Rayan spilled her beans.
I did. People are just, I don't know, I like talking
That's
to
true.
random
Rhea
people.
does overshare.
Yeah. Okay. Who is most likely to never show up to class the whole semester?
Why would you call yourself out like that?
I know, it's me.
Like, it's really awkward when you actually have a track record. Okay, sorry.
Moment of silence.
Okay, so we're gonna jump right in. So, obviously, we talked about how we wanted to start this podcast partly because we are Sudanese / South Sudanese, and we wanted to share about that background. So, we were born in Sudan, and the rest of our family as well, besides this little one. But we have another older brother and older sister, and our mom and dad. And after we lived in Sudan, and then we moved to the U.S. around 2005, and we lived in the East Coast, and then we moved to the Midwest. And so, yeah, we're just going to dig into all that a little bit.
Yeah. And so we wanted to start off with a question just to open up the conversation of the biggest things or the most relevant thing that you learned in your childhood. So, you guys, who wants to start?
That's a good question. Okay, yeah, I can start, and we'll just see where the conversation goes. But when I think about my childhood, right from the get-go, I think about how naive and innocent everything was in a super simple way. I think growing up with immigrant parents, obviously they're trying to survive, they're trying to figure out what's going on in this new world that they're in. And as children, you don't know what they don't know. And so when I look back at my childhood, I think the world was so small to me. I didn't realize what was really out there, and that's because I didn't learn everything because this isn't like we're not from the U.S., right? But I had a pretty good childhood. We grew up with strict parents, but you could persuade them every which
Yeah,
way,
they
every
were,
now and then.
yeah, sticklers.
But it was interesting. There's a lot more I could dig into, but just to get us started, do you guys have anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing I can really think about is community, and I guess when you say community or hear the word, it kind of sounds like it resonates more with adults, but when I'm talking about kids, like we lived in a neighborhood where like all the kids knew each other and we would hang out all the time, and then just people from like a church community that we knew and things like that. I feel like it was the most relevant thing to me in my life. Like I never maybe emotionally felt alone, but like physically I never felt alone. Like we were always doing something or always with people. And like I feel like when you come from a small town in the Midwest, you experience that a lot because it's kind of small. Like everyone knows each other.
Yeah, I guess what I have to say to that is we were outside. We were outside back in the day. And I think that was so fun because we did connect with our friends, that community that we had in each neighborhood that we moved into. And to be honest, I think playfulness is really important. And sometimes when we grow up, that playfulness goes away or we grow up too fast. And that's something I'm trying to bring back into my adult life, just being more creative and being playful and silly and carefree at times that I can afford to do that. But also, I have a thought, and I want to see what you guys think about it.
Okay.
It might be a little controversial. Just kidding. But you know how, like, we grew up poor, for sure, and...
We're going to air our business out, episode 1.
What's funny about that?
No, we're not airing our business out. It's just the truth. We grew up very poor for a long time, and... sometimes, you know, some kids are like, oh, I didn't even notice that we were poor growing up. So one, I want to know, did you guys notice that we were poor growing up? And then also, my thought on it is, sometimes when you grow up in like sketchy neighborhoods or not very well developed neighborhoods, sometimes like it can really affect you negatively. But I think we did amazing with what we had. I think like growing up poor, growing up with parents who didn't know how to really be involved in our lives, like we did a good job of making sure that we had fun as kids and that we were safe and like used our resources really well and just like entertained ourselves.
Yeah.
This is so interesting. You guys, we've recorded this episode, 3 times, 4 times now?
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. I tend to derail a lot and just go off tangent. And so you asking that question, I have so many thoughts that come to my mind, and I'm like...
And we've wanted to keep this organized, but I mean, like, just go where you gotta go, sis.
I know. I do want to organize as much as I can, though. So I'm thinking, I don't know if you have any thoughts right off the bat.
It's funny because I didn't and I did. Because, again, with my point of our community, like, it's different when you go to someone else's house or like see their family dynamic and how they work. It's like, oh, this is different from what we do, or like we don't do this, or just like maybe this is kind of niche, but like seeing plumbers at my friend's house, I'm like, these guys never come to my house. Like we don't get stuff fixed. So it's like, I guess it's interesting in that way, but I think I was just so naive and optimistic that I was like, oh, they do this and we do that. Like I never dug too much into it. And I wonder if that's just because I wonder what would have happened if things were different in a sense of like maybe we had less siblings, like it was 2 of us or 3 of us, or like if we didn't have a church community, or if we lived in a neighborhood that didn't have a lot of kids, like one of those things, like would we have not been so naive and like optimistic? I don't know. I think things kept our minds busy a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, it is actually so interesting also that you asked that, because it's true. Like, we were dirt poor. Like, our parents were living paycheck to paycheck.
Why don't I remember that, though?
You remember?
I think I have an answer, kind of. But just to kind of go off of what I was saying, our parents were living paycheck to paycheck. We did get government assistance, which I think did help us. I think without the government assistance, we would have recognized that we were poor. But there were 2 thoughts that I had when you asked your questions. So, like, one, I didn't, like, really think, oh, we are the poorest of the poor. And even though we were poor, I recognize the privilege that we did have.
Yeah.
I personally don't remember ever wondering where my next meal was going to come from. We might not have had the most extravagant meals. Like, we were definitely eating ramen and bread and eggs and that kind of stuff, but I never went hungry. And we had everything we needed. We always had a roof over our heads, and clothes on our back, and kind of like what you were talking about earlier when we were asking the question of like who would win an argument between mom and dad. Even though we were poor, every time I asked dad for money, he would give it to me, and it was weird. Like, I never knew where he would get the money, because I'd always be like, but we're poor, but he would always give me the money. But it wasn't like I was asking for thousands of dollars. It would just be like, hey dad, I'm going to the mall, can you give me $20? And yeah, he'd complain, but he'd give it to me. Or whenever I did extracurricular activities at school, I'd ask him for money. But of course, we were on free and reduced lunch, and that helped too. But there were always supplemental things.
Yeah, I think maybe I don't recognize it as much because I was born a little later, and where we grew up in a tiny bit of a nicer neighborhood. But I think we were still struggling at that point. And then we continued to struggle on later. But struggle later on. I just said that backwards.
Struggle on later.
Rihanna's the queen.
Phrases, words. Also, we forgot to say that we call each other by different names. So this is Nosa, Fatwa, and Rio.
Yeah.
But they didn't really call me that all the time. So.
And then, the other point I was going to say, I'm trying to remember, you asked the question. Like, your second question was?
About trauma and learning to use playfulness to help us.
Oh, yeah. How did we kind of escape what we were living in?
Yeah.
Because, we lived in the harsh neighborhoods, and...
Yeah, even though we were poor, we did a great job.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I thought about this so much because... And I think what it comes down to is, honestly, mom and dad. Because even though we grew up in those neighborhoods, we weren't those people. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, okay, what I'm trying to say, and this is the part where I'm like, I derail. But listen, this is what I'm trying to say.
I was going to let you finish your thought. It's just funny.
Okay, so the African American experience and the African immigrant experience is completely different. And it's one that I've had to learn how to put together. Because I remember when I went to the Black Student Union in my college, I did not feel like I fit in. I was like, I grew up so different from all these people. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that obviously being immigrants and coming from a different continent, a different country, you don't know about what slavery was like in the U.S. You don't know about the history of African Americans in the U.S. And you come here and you get treated like an African American, but you're African. Yeah. You don't understand African American culture or vernacular, but you get treated as if you do. Anywho, so we grew up in African American neighborhoods, but we ourselves were different.
Well, I think that's true, right? Sometimes in the U.S., there are certain people who don't know how to distinguish. Can't say that word ever. They don't know how to differentiate between the different types of Black people. There's like Black Caribbeans, there's like Afro Latinas, there are people from the continent of Africa, and there's Black Americans, and like even with that, you have Black people, Black Americans who are from the South, who could be different than Black people in New York, right? But we all get treated the same because we all have the same skin tone. Yeah. And honestly, I feel like there is a true like brotherhood in that sense of like, you know what? If you can't tell us apart, forget you. I love my brothers and sisters and all types of the Black diaspora. But with that, I wanted to know then, how do you fuse together? If we were to fuse together growing up Sudanese in the U.S., like in childhood, what are some of like the differences? Like how could you explain to someone that we grew up in a Sudanese home as Black people and immigrants versus what they might see in Black American homes? And what are some of those favorite things in your childhood from that?
Well, I want to go first.
Wait, no, I need to preface something.
Okay.
Even though, you know, we have different experiences in the African diaspora as different types of Black people, we can have different experiences and still be united. Like, just because we grew up different and, like, it may sound kind of pick-me to be like, oh, we're different and we came from this, like, that's not essentially what it means or the tone that we're trying to give off. Yes. It's just like, it's different, but that doesn't matter because we're all the same. Even though it matters, it's valid, but it doesn't in the
celebrate
sense of like,
differences, yeah.
oh, we're different, so we're not connected.
Yes, I love that you said that. I think it's so important to talk about those differences, help people understand, and help make sense for ourselves. But yeah, all of us would stand with our Caribbean Black brothers and sisters, with our Afro-Latino, African American brothers and sisters. Like, we are there. We are one. We are you. You are us.
Yeah.
Like, that's how we see it. But I think it's really important to understand that we had the immigrant mindset in the home, which is that we came all the way to America. You better not fail. You are going to succeed at everything that you do. We're going to get out, XYZ. And so I think that also is something that pushed us. Our dad was really, really big on that. I don't know what your guys' experience is with that, but I took it super direct for my dad. Like, I was like, I can't mess up. I have to do everything perfect. I had to do my art homework with a ruler. He literally yelled at me for not doing my art homework with a ruler one time. Like,
Yeah.
and he was the type of dad that gave us curfews and like watched everything that we did. Like, they definitely had an overprotective mindset because they're in a new country. They're not just gonna let their kids out into the world like that. They don't have family here. They don't understand how everything works, right? So I think that plays a big part in it, is getting that vibe from our parents and then trying to please them and gain that respect from them. So
Yeah.
You can go.
I was gonna say, I totally see that, and that's definitely true. But I think as the youngest kid, it fizzles out. But it didn't fizzle out enough to where I felt like I could go act out. Like, I definitely still felt the pressure and the guilt of like, our family came all the way here. Like, I'm not gonna do X, Y, and Z. But it is interesting as well because no shade to our parents, because I think that again, they were immigrants to a new country, and race was kind of a new theory to them because they were in an all-black country. Like, they didn't have to think about those things.
Yeah.
But I think, what's the word? They didn't do it on purpose, but they unintentionally kind of
Yeah.
villainized other Black Americans, and sort of compared them to us or to Africans so that we would somehow succeed, even though they didn't understand that in the U.S. that the government kind of, discriminates and sets, our people up to fail. So I think that they were just trying to protect us from that, even though it wasn't the right way to lead or, I don't know, completely accurate. And so that was different for us as well.
Yeah, I think we all have to work on biases when it came to racism, and I think we've all crossed that threshold of now being in a better place with race and everything, and be more accepting as well.
Right.
But I want to talk about that another time. I think that'd be really cool to get into.
Yeah.
I think other differences in terms of like growing up Sudanese, like having a childhood, like Sudanese childhood in the U.S. meant that we went to these African parties, meant that we ate Sudanese food in the home, so we didn't learn to cook American foods in the home, right? It meant that we watched like Nigerian movies, and then slowly us kids, as we grew up, and we introduced like the U.S. American culture into our home, but our parents really stuck to African stuff, stuck to their news, stuck to their movies. It also meant like hearing our mom like talk on the phone very loudly
For
at different
hours.
times to connect with her family who are like 9 hours ahead. So yeah, it was just very different growing up, but a lot of good things too. Like the food, I'm never gonna complain that I grew up with Sudanese food. Like we go to school and eat the pizzas and hot dogs, and then we come home and we're eating the lentils.
Yeah.
and okra and all the good African Sudanese food.
Yeah. And then also, of course, we grew up speaking Arabic in the home, and so that was something that set us differently as well. But it was amazing. Like, I loved being able to have a different culture at home than I did at school, and that's where I felt the most like me because it's who we are. So
Yeah, for sure.
And the way our home was decorated.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you guys know about the beads that are hung by the door and like they fall down.
Yes.
We had those, and so every time you would kind of go through an exit, like you would hear the sound of beads.
I always thought it was so interesting that we lived in townhouses, apartments, but the inside of our house looked rich. Like
The faux
it
gold.
didn't. We
And
didn't.
it's like yellow gold. Like,
Right.
it's not like actual gold. Like, it's
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like we had one couch on the side and a small TV. No, we had the curtains, we had rugs, we had placemats on the couches.
We had like
everything was decorated.
Dola, what do you call it?
A
dresser?
A dresser.
Now you saying dola? Girl, don't speak Arabic, so okay.
I don't know
Acting
what to
bilingual
call
or
it. I know.
whatever. She said, "What do you call it? The dola?"
Girl, don't even. I love to pull that. English is not my first language, and knowing dang well it is.
Yeah, that's great.
And whoop.
So yeah, I guess like, what are some of your favorite Sudanese foods, Sudanese traditions and customs that were in our home growing up?
Oh my gosh, don't get me started on the food. I will never stop talking about it. But man, our mom food is good. It may not look like it, but she food is good.
No, literally, why?
Because
That's what I said in my mind.
oh, we're gonna cut this or no? Okay, because we're not thick. We're all twigs.
Okay.
You don't gotta say.
You think I'm a twin?
Okay. Oh my gosh, we had the most delicious, delectable foods. Our mom would do mullah, which is like stew, and there's different types of mullah, different types of stews. There's like okra, there's a peanut butter one, there's like macarona, which is, it's like pasta but African, man, like real good. And then there's also the like the street foods, the things that you wouldn't eat on a normal night, only when there's like celebrations. So like sambusa and like literally any fried vegetable drowned in some sort of delicious sauce.
Pasta.
Pasta.
Yeah.
Which
My
is-
favorite.
what's it?
Baklava.
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 Let me bring this back. Falafel.
Why did you say it like that? That was so disgusting. No, you tried to say it with a European.
Baklava. No.
Bro, you are not Slavic. Relax, man. Talk about some.
It's in Arabic.
No, it's not.
Baklava is
No.
Arabic.
No, she's-
Baklava is European.
No, you said no.
Baklava.
Not that.
Baklava?
You know what you said. You're just acting like you didn't say it. Okay. Anyway.
Somebody come get
No,
her.
you're being crazy.
Anyways,
Off the scene.
I'm just trying to shake it off.
Like that was so unnecessary. I'm so confused. Okay, you guys are giving me a headache.
So what do you guys remember from like the Sudanese parties that we went to? Because when you live in a Sudanese community, everything is celebrated. Okay, a funeral and a birthday party, a wedding, like everything is celebrated.
tell me why people are
large
getting
scale,
down at a
large
funeral.
scale.
No, have you guys ever been to one?
Well, karamas, they were like, it wasn't an open casket or anything like that. It was just people gathering together to
Lots of
celebrate the
food.
life of the person, honestly.
Lots of food.
Most of the parties we went to were karamas, honestly.
That's shocking.
You
'cause
just didn't know that.
they were turning up.
That's what I'm saying.
Feeling the
But
beat in my
We
heart.
definitely had different celebrations that weren't just karamas, but some of them were.
And then we recently, not too recently, but we had our sister's wedding, our eldest sister's wedding, which was super fun.
Yeah.
What do you guys
and
remember
it's
from
just-
those parties?
Feeling the beat in my heart.
Because the music's so
feeling-
loud.
At the end of the party, mom yelling at us to get like a thing to put all our food in.
Container.
Saying she was gonna leave, but then we stayed for another hour. All the adults dancing on the dance floor. Cousins that were 10 years younger than you that you were expected to play with. that were really annoying.
Or watch.
Yeah. That was kind of negative, but no, it was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a good time, honestly, to just be around a ton of other Sudanese people and to be speaking Arabic and eating the food and just celebrating our culture, celebrating who we are. That was really fun.
I feel like it's so. It's such a good feeling to be a part of something, especially so big. Like, I don't really know where I was going with that, but yeah.
I feel like my favorite thing was the music. It was like a mix of like Sudanese Arabic songs and like Afro beats. We were getting down.
Yeah.
And even some like Congolese songs, like our hips were whining, okay? And there was always an uncle with a camera.
Oh my Lord.
There was a cameraman at every event. He was well paid, I know that.
Could have sworn he was at Rahab's wedding.
I don't know, but
Right.
he was one of those photographers at Rahab's wedding. But anyways, it was way fun. I remember just like that was me being a teen, and I had like teen cousins that I was around, and we'd all like dress up, but you couldn't be too immodest because your parents would yell at you. And then when you got there, you're like, ooh, she's wearing that, and like lots of glitter and
Yeah.
just so much fun. Much fun.
I loved all the tea.
The gossip.
That's what I liked.
How do you say it? Shamara. There's a song about gossip.
Literally.
Anywho, I think you were onto something when you were saying that it's just fun to be a part of something. I feel like after Rahab's wedding, I had a huge identity crisis because at that point I'd been through college and I was not connected with my culture as much because I was away from home. And then being surrounded by so many Sudanese people and the culture again and the language, I was like, who am I? Like, I love this. It's almost like an oasis, like having a culture outside of the country you live in.
Yeah, and that's what it kind of felt like coming home because, like, obviously we were going to these, how do I say it? It's mostly white schools.
Oh, like predominantly white institutions.
Yeah, and then coming back home and it's like another universe. And I'm like, dang, I was just somewhere else a couple hours ago.
And it's so cool. It's about human connection, honestly, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I think that's a big part of why we wanted to start this podcast.
Yes.
Because I don't think we're as connected to our culture. I guess I'll just speak for myself. Like, I'm not. And I really want to be. And I think this is a really cool way to do that, just talking about our experience and connecting with other Sudanese people. So.
Yeah, and that's kind of my last question, and then I guess we can wrap up. But I wanted to know, what do you guys want to preserve from our Sudanese culture?
That's a good question. Oh,
I can go. I think the gathering of people is like the most important thing on planet Earth. And every culture does it. But I obviously am going to have a bias towards how our culture does it. But just the food and the inviting of people and the dancing, like the spreading of joy is something that I always want to keep. Like, I will always want to have people in my life and like cultivate a space where people can come and feel connected to others and, you know, connect. I don't know.
yeah.
And connect.
Literally.
And connect.
Yeah, there are no aspects of our there's obviously negative aspects of the culture, but in terms of all the positive things like the food, the language, the gathering, the people, the partying, the way we do things, like there's no aspect of that I want to be lost because I'm a big firm believer in like knowing your roots and being true to those roots, and like my kids are going to be Sudanese, like that's who you can't run away from that, and I want them to be able to feel connected to that. It's tough though because I don't know that they're gonna know Arabic because I'm even losing it, and I'm not like, it's not coming to speak it in my home, so it's sad to think about it that way, but you know, I hope to myself continue connecting with my Sudanese and South Sudanese culture and heritage. That way I can be more authentic as I present it to my kids.
Yeah, I think it's difficult because to every culture there's beautiful parts, but there can be difficult parts, and I think that's one of them, is just like losing it because of whatever circumstance you're in. But I guess we can do a whole other episode on that. But
yeah,
you can always get it back.
Yeah,
it's true. I'm trying to preserve things through like food, music, language a little bit. I could definitely do better. I'm continue with tutoring and all of that, but also like I feel like what I haven't been able to figure out is decoration wise. Like when you look at our home, like you can't tell this is a Sudanese home in any way. And I'm not saying like decorate the same way our mom decorated growing up, but decorate in the sense of like even maybe like a picture frame of the flag, not the flag, or like the like the layout of Sudan, like the map of it, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. So that's something I want to figure out. But I am trying new foods from our culture in terms of like learning how to cook them, and so that's fun. That's exciting.
Yeah,
But yeah,
for sure.
and.
Go
I
ahead.
guess that's mostly what we wanted to share with you guys on this first
Yeah.
episode. And so if you guys have any questions about us, about Sudanese culture, our upbringing, feel free to write them down. Let us know a little bit more about you and what you guys are interested in hearing more from us.
And we're excited to grow our online Sudanese and South Sudanese community as well. So tap in.
Yeah.
But
And
thanks.
if you're not Sudanese or South Sudanese, please stay.
We'll take everyone.
Yes, but thanks for joining us today. Bye.